Hey guys, what's up? Nullrage here, taking a look at the changes that have been made to Ghost Rider in his quality of life update. Um, they are pretty extensive. Well, not quite as much as Psylocke. Psylocke's changes in her quality of life update have been really extensive, but Ghost Rider, most of his skills are relatively the same, just with some extra stat differences here and there and some different mechanics, but the core of Ghost Rider is now going to center around this skill right now, Hellfire. Now, that mental damage dot on there is what is really everything's going to center around now. That mental damage dot, this is just a basic attack, and when you use it, you just hit a target. It's got a small area of effect, but it deals some initial damage, but it stacks this dot. You can see it on that character, or that target dummy right there. And it stacks up to 3 times. Now, a bunch of his other abilities have power synergies now with this Hellfire here, that they will apply 1 stack of Hellfire on hit, or, like Hell from Above, apply 3 stacks of Hellfire on hit. I'm going to do a quick rundown of all the abilities. Probably not get into it too closely, because hopefully you guys know what Ghost Rider's all about. But I do want to, sort of just go over everything. Have a look and make sure, see what's changed. Alright, Chain Thrash is going to, still a basic melee attack. It's going to regenerate health when you hit targets afflicted with Hellfire, though. So, there you go. Basic melee. You hit a target that's afflicted with Hellfire, and you're going to regen some health. Again, there are many ways to apply this Hellfire other than just this. Alright, next up, Chain Snare, Immobilization, has no power synergies with Hellfire, or at least not on its own. We'll get to that later. Next up, we've got Condemn, physical damage, weakening effect, physical damage rating plus 202 when Condemn hits an enemy afflicted by Hellfire. So let's use this. Inferno will stack Hellfire on multiple targets, and then you can hit them all with Condemn for extra damage versus those targets. Pretty cool. Alright, next up we've got Judgment here. Now this is something he needed a lot previously, and that is a Spirit Spender boss killer thing with the 40% extra damage to elites and bosses, and now he's got it in Judgment. Judgment, I was using it maxed out before because it had the regen effect that has now been moved to Chain Thrash, and it was really good. A great way to make a very tanky character. Now it's going to do extra damage versus bosses and elites. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way for me to show that off here in Test Center, because those dummies over there, although they have boss health, they're not tagged as bosses. Alright, Whirling Chain remains relatively unchanged. There you go. Chain Lash is going to deal basic physical damage. It seems to be about the same as it was before. Yeah. It is it? Oh, it is no longer tagged. This is very important, a very important thing to note. Chain Lash is no longer tagged as melee and range. It was tagged as melee and range before, and therefore you could get bonuses from this item right here, Idol of Khonshu, because you would actually trigger the buff from this item off of Chain Lash itself, and then also get the effect from Chain Lash. It was a win-win. It was pretty much best in slot, but now Chain Lash is no longer tagged as melee and ranged. Alright, Chains Ablaze. This is his passive. It is no longer an active effect. It used to be I think, maybe it had some passive stuff to it, but the main thing was you trigger this, and then your chains do extra stuff. I think they did a bleed or something like that. But now it is changed to a passive effect, giving you critical rating and physical damage rating. And when you deal physical damage to enemies afflicted by Hellfire, again, going back to that skill, you will restore 1 spirit, and I believe this physical damage rating... No, you'll gain physical damage rating of 900 for 5 seconds. That could be a little bit clearer there on the tooltip, in my opinion. Alright, it looks like the damage rating that you gain, that buff there of 900 damage rating, it does not increase with points put in the skill, but everything else does. This is probably still going to be a maxed out passive for me. Giving you that... Yeah, it's good stuff. And that applies to all of your chain effects. You know, so that's one way that even say Whirling Chain here that doesn't have any synergy with Hellfire still has some synergy with Hellfire, which is pretty cool. Next up we've got Flay, and before this did not have a cooldown. Now it does, cooldown of 5 seconds. It still does the knockdown, but it's also going to deal 50% additional damage per stack of Hellfire consuming those effects. Initially, let me see, and let's put this there. Alright, Play, there's some basic damage, and it's got that cooldown on it. Now, if we stack 3 stacks of Hellfire from Hell from Above here, then everything's burning, and we hit even harder. A whole lot harder. I think that went from like about 7k, yeah, about 6 to 7k, to I think I saw a 15 last time I used this. Let's just do it one more time, see if I can catch those numbers. There was a 12 right there. So yeah, that's pretty big increase there if used in conjunction with, you know, stacking the Hellfire buff. All right, then the Hellfire tree. We went over Hellfire. Here's the scaling on that, by the way. And putting points into Hellfire, you're probably gonna want to max this on just about any build, because that Hellfire, the damage from this, putting points in this, synergizes with all of your other abilities that stack Hellfire. If you have 20 points in the Hellfire, you saw it was ticking for, I don't know, somewhere around 250 or something, and now, say let's go with Hell from Above, now you've got numbers of 700. Alright? So if you're using the Hellfire buff, which you are if you're playing Ghost Rider, then you're going to want points in here to increase that dot. Maybe, I don't know. The math guys would have to work that out. Next up we've got Inferno. Let's go ahead and put all this. Alright. Inferno is relatively unchanged, but it's also... did it apply vulnerability before? I don't know. It's area duration of 5 seconds and applies 1 stack of Hellfire. There it is, pretty much the same. Next up we've got Infernal Skull, mental damage, and this is going to be really good for a range build. Here, let's show that real quick. Infernal Skull deals 20% additional damage per stack of Hellfire by consuming Hellfire on the target. So it does consume the Hellfire. If I stack 1, 2, 3 stacks and then hit with that, oh, it didn't consume. It didn't consume. So maybe it does not consume the Hellfire. It says it does in the tooltip, but anyway, there's Infernal Skull. There's some regular damage, about 3k. Pop, 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 and now we're hitting. There's over 5k. Yeah, so there you can see how that works with Hellfire. Moving on, Protect the Innocent. Now this didn't go on my bar, right? No, we're good. It is passive, and before it was really good if you wanted, I think it had base health on it somewhere, but it doesn't have that anymore. It's got defense rating, projectile deflection chance, regenerate HP per second, and effects are increased by 50% while standing in Inferno. And when you take damage, you and your allies gain Constitution as well. So this is really good, and there's the sound of one of my videos finishing. I'll have to check on that later. So there's the scaling. Yeah, you're in Inferno, it's better. Got it. There you go. Standing in Inferno. Woo! Alright. And just ignore these guys. They keep getting summoned from buffs that I've had on for some reason. Alright. Next up, we've got Penance Stare. Now, this is said to be... Oh, yeah, it's not upfront damage. It's a dot now. Interesting. It's going to deal mental damage 4 times per second and execute 1 per... It's still got the execute mechanic on it. Oh, it's a channel now. Max channel time 2 seconds. Cower duration. Cooldown 30 seconds. Alright, let's see. Okay, that's pretty cool. It's not just that hit it and quit it kind of move that it was before. It's now a... You want to stand there and channel this. You probably... It doesn't have any damage negation on it of its own, so you probably want to make sure that you are standing in an Inferno so that you don't die before you start using. That's pretty cool. Then we've got Damnation, mental damage twice per second, power synergy, applies 1 stack of Hellfire per tick. There you go, 3 stacks of Hellfire. Alright, now we move on to the Vengeance Tree. Let's put that there. Alright. Infernal Wheelie. Same as it used to be, it just now applies Hellfire. That can get pretty crazy. Spirit of Vengeance remains, from what I can see, unchanged. About the same. There's the max health. That's where it went. So it gives you... the stats are probably changed, now that I think about it. Max health, mental damage rating, and when you hit with a power, this part is pretty much the same. Damage negated 12%, and you'll gain damage rating. That's universal damage rating. And the effects are increased by 100% for each 25% total health you're missing. So, you know, when you drop to 75%, you're going to be negating 24% damage and gaining 500 damage rating. Drop to 50%, then you're up to so on and so on and so on. I'm not going to embarrass myself with math. Alright, then we've got Burn the Treads, mental damage twice per second, 100% damage fully charged, area duration 3 seconds, and applies Hellfire on hit. Now, here's what I want to know. I see 1. Alright, the damage over time effect from Burn the Treads does not apply a stack of Hellfire. It is only the initial damage from Burn the Treads that applies a stack of Hellfire. We can charge it up, get some uber damage there. Let's watch that dot. That was about 2k there, the fully charged. There it is, 1k. Okay, there we go. Charging the bike up will increase the damage over time effect. That was something that wasn't happening previously. Cool, cool. Infernal Contract is next. Passive effect, when you are defeated, regenerate 100% of your max HP. This used to be over here. Now it's over here. Cooldown 10 minutes. And also, active effect, critical, brutal rating, yeah, it's about the same. I think the active effect is the same. It's just the passive effect has been moved from here to here. So you're going to want 1 point in here at least, just so you've got that revive effect. Unless you don't want the revive effect for some reason. Then next up we've got Ride. I believe it remains unchanged. Ride through your enemies. The only difference here is... Actually, there's no difference. It is exactly the same. I thought for a second that it might apply a stack of Hellfire with that dot, but it does not. Alright. Dread, crowd control immunity, cower duration... How does it make them cower? Let's see. While cowering nearby enemy will display... Okay, so just anybody within, you know, so close gets cowered. There you go. Whenever you break out. That's a really cool animation. Oh man, I wish the cooldown was a bit lower so I could see that again. And then finally, Hell from Above. We've seen it a few times so far. Initial physical damage. Cooldown reduced by 1 second when you hit with a Vengeance power. I don't know if that effect is new or not, but either way, it's pretty cool. And it applies 3 stacks of Hellfire. There you go, there's that. Now, one thing to note is Burn the Treads, the damage over time effect. I'm actually going to use Burn the Treads before I use Hellfire. Watch the cooldown on Hell from Above, okay? Burn the Treads, and then Hell from Above, and yet the cooldown is still reducing. So the damage over time effect from Burn the Treads can reduce the cooldown from Hell from Above. Anytime you deal damage with something in this tree, you will reduce the cooldown from Hell from Above. Let's look at the ult, see if it's changed. Hell on Wheels. That's a good show, by the way. If you haven't seen that show, check it out. Hell on Wheels, it's pretty good. Physical damage, twice per second. Active duration, 15 seconds. Move speed is increased. Damage negated 40%. Pillar effect. Summons a pillar twice. Yeah, looks about the same, other than the power synergy. The power synergy is the only thing that's new here. It's going to apply those stacks of Hellfire. There you go. Alright, so that's Ghost Rider's review. I know I went over it pretty quick. If there's anything I've missed, ooh, yes, now that I think about it. Hero synergies. Oh, I did have some on. Sort of, whatever. Anyway, yep, there it is. Hero synergies have changed. 2% mental power crit chance. And there you go, at level 50 as well. So, your mental heroes, you're going to want to level Ghost Rider, because that is an incredibly powerful power synergy there. 4% crit chance? Yes, please. Alright, if you've enjoyed this video, click the like button, share it with somebody, click that subscribe button if you want to see more like it. I will see you in the next video. I think it's going to be Psylocke. Till then, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.